Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is a lady that's been on my show before. Her daughter, Samantha, has ADHD. My grandson has ADHD. So I was beyond happy when I found out she was going to come on the first time. Now she's back with some exciting news. Please welcome Kristi Richardson. Hi, Kristi.
Hi, Allie. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me back on.
Oh, thank you for coming back on. You are a wealth of information, by the way. Just so everybody knows, before the interview, Kristi and I and my mom had a very long talk about my grandson, who also has ADHD, along with a few other issues. And Kristi always seems to come up with answers for us, and she did again. So thank you for that so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely.
And another thing, thank you for the $25 in my GoFundMe, Kristi. You have no idea. I've been kind of not promoting it. I have a hard time promoting it because I know there's so many other causes out there right now. And right now, with all the natural disasters and everything in Vegas, and I've just been holding back and not saying anything because those are way more important than my show. So I totally appreciate you donating the $25. It means very much to me. So thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome and welcome and welcome.
Awesome. Okay, so basically, kind of reintroduce yourself in case people didn't hear the initial interview of why you came on the show and why we're talking about what we're going to be talking. I'm going to leave it a surprise for you to tell why you're back on.
Okay. Well, for those of you who are not familiar, didn't hear the other interview, my name is Kristi. I have, at this point, an 8-year-old daughter, and my daughter has a variety of learning and emotional and behavioral struggles. In our first interview, we were talking about just ADHD primarily and being an empowered parent. My daughter also struggles with sensory processing integration disorder. She struggles with disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. We have learning struggles such as dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. And with that, we've been through an exciting up and down turmoil of a journey to get to this point where when we started, our home was a chaotic, angry, tearful, frustrating, sad place. And now, after the work we've been able to do, we are now at a place where we are happy, we are healthy, we're productive, and we don't have those up and down crazy days anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you did that yourself.
Yes, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have a beautiful rescue dog named Scooter. He's 9 years old, and I've been married 15 years to an amazing man who is my absolute rock. And I don't think that I could get through what we get through some days without him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that I have somebody that we can laugh and cry with.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you homeschool, Samantha, and you've done a lot of different things in your home to now, like you say, make it a happy, joyous place. And some, like you talked about food, different foods help with everything that Samantha's going through and every other child that's going through all of the things that you've mentioned. And for some reason, ADHD is so common nowadays. It's crazy. And you just talked about all the different things that you've done to make life easier. Talk about a couple of those things.
Well, I recently came out with a brand new book. It's called Making Sense of Munchkin.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it entails this particular journey. And what you'll find inside the book is it's not only a personal story about our struggles and the growth of myself as well as understanding my daughter, but it actually talks about all of those practical, real things that we did to be able to take back our home and get out of the crazy. And it seems that sometimes those things can be minute when we start, that we'll take a teeny tiny step, we'll change one little thing. But that one little thing when we find if it works and we compound it with multiple other things, we begin to win.
Mm-hmm.
And we begin to get that movement that we're looking for.
And that's
So
awesome.
in the book, I talk about techniques that we used in response to our child.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at sleeping patterns. We looked at food patterns. We looked at environment. We looked at how we perceived the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at supplements. We looked at time of day incidents would occur. We looked for triggers. We looked for types of true issues and struggles, meaning once we began to understand the shortfalls, then we went looking for the research to back up the science on those,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could understand and then find new techniques to try again.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at primal reflexes. We looked at brain balancing. And we looked at a variety of other personal growth issues as a parent.
And it's amazing. It's amazing that you did all of this. It's amazing. Like, you're a blogger, an artist, a speaker, an advocate, a life coach. Now, this confused me. It says homeschool unschooler. What does that mean?
Well, so in the world of educational styles, there are different ways that people can choose to educate. And when you hear homeschool, there's a traditional image that is portrayed. You know, people at home with their children, using their own little curriculum and their own little rooms, doing things. You know, doing basically school at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are relaxed versions of that. So for those of you who are homeschoolers, and if I just portrayed a horrible picture for your situation, please don't get mad. But then there's another movement out there right now, which they're calling themselves unschoolers. Unschoolers take a completely different view of education and believe that we don't need to teach children in a forced fashion. I cannot get my lips to say what I want to say. So, in a forced fashion. So instead of forcing them to learn, we let the natural curiosity of what they want to learn be their guide.
Wow.
It's a leap of faith, I will tell you.
Yeah, that is interesting though. I really like that idea.
The interesting thing about it is that if we look at how children develop all by themselves, the minute that they're born into this world, they begin to try to make sense of it. They begin trying to move their fingers. They try to stand up, eventually learn to walk, to speak. And much of that is because we're naturally designed to make sense of the world around us by exploring it.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is we're continuing that process and allowing that to happen.
Wow. God, I wish schools would do that.
Yes.
That would be so much better.
Or at least go back to mastery.
Exactly, yeah. Now, like I said, my grandson has ADHD. He has high anxiety. He also has, I can't remember, a defiance disorder. Defiance, yeah.
Oh, oppositional defiance disorder?
Thank you. Yes, that's the word. Oppositional defiance disorder. And the thing that kills me is if you didn't know, you would never know, because it's like an invisible illness. You can't see it until, unfortunately, a rage happens or something happens that everybody's kind of like, and unfortunately they label them crazy or, psychotic. They're children as well. So they don't understand what children are going through that have this. And the fact that you bring this to attention by doing everything that you do and now having a book is absolutely amazing, Kristi. I cannot tell you enough of how happy I am that we discovered each other and you came on my show and you continue to help my family as well as every other family that's listening right now that has stuff like this going on in their lives and are maybe at their wits' end. And I am so glad that you put it in book form. Like, you have no idea, because I know it's your own personal journey, But like you said, there's also things in there that are going to help people, you know, there's tools that are going to help them through this journey.
Well, the numbers are not going away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the statistical fact is that right now, 20% of children under the age of 18 has a mental, social, behavior, or learning struggle right now.
Wow.
That is 20% of the student population.
Mm-hmm.
And those numbers will continue to climb.
That's crazy.
So why are we continuing to ignore the facts?
Yeah, exactly.
And I find personally that when I am reluctant or resistant to something, much of it is because I don't have all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a true believer that education and empathy and facts of a situation really can help people understand what is happening, to their children, to their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the power lies. When I wrote this book, I didn't set out and wake up one morning and decided I wanted to be an author.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was barely a good blogger, frankly. I was never a grammar person in high school
Mm-hmm.
or college. I could always have a conversation well. I could always speak well. But as we begin to really understand the situation and changed our home, I got that tap on my shoulder from the big guy upstairs. And he said to me, "You have to do this. People need you. They
Yeah,
need this."
they do.
Yeah, and I will tell you, like I said in the book, God asks you to do things that you don't think that you're capable of doing.
Exactly.
He
And you
gives
prove
the
them.
children
Yeah.
that he knows are meant for you, and you want to go, "What? Are you sure?"
Did you not? Did you get the wrong address?
I was like, "Really? How am I going to do this?" So I set out, and it took me 2 years to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not an easy thing for me. Personally, I have an undiagnosed version of ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it because I grew up in the 90s and we didn't have labels for these things.
Exactly, yeah.
I was that same kid with sensory processing issues that would be chewing on my pencil. I cannot stand it when we have very loud brainstorms. A lot of times I have to go get headphones for myself if the wind is beating on the side of my house. It just literally makes me uncomfortable and my anxiety will go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So I was that kid. So for me to stick to this project for 2 years was really my own struggle. But it helps me remember how hard it is just for our kids to get through stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
When it can seem so big.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was going through the process and we were struggling at the worst of what we've been through thus far, I just remember that helpless feeling I had. How alone we were. We couldn't get professional help because nobody would believe us, because at the time my daughter was 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And we were left standing there. Every day, emotional roller coasters, meltdowns and tantrums and depressions and throwing objects and beating, their hands on the walls and fists and the scratching. And I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So this book, for me, is my olive branch to all the parents out there that are struggling, thinking that they're alone, that they're not sure what to do anymore. We need physical, tangible things right now that we can try, that we can make one tiny step forward to try something new to improve our home.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to live in free fall.
No, they
Your
don't.
kid doesn't want to live in free fall. Your family doesn't want to live in free fall. You don't want to be in free fall. And anyone who comes in contact with your child doesn't want to be in free fall.
Exactly.
So what do?
Come together.
Can't sit on a waiting list for 6 months.
Yeah. And that's how long it takes, sometimes longer.
Yes. The waiting time for, services like that for our kids is significantly long, and it can be anywhere between 3 months to 12 months, depending on the type of service and the age of the child.
Mm-hmm. And how well your medical system works.
Yes, well, that's true.
Everybody
and
thinks,
can afford it.
yeah, well, and everybody thinks that we've got it made in Canada because we don't pay for medical. No, we pay for wait time because the wait time in Manitoba is crazy because we get free medical. So the lineups for like MRIs and for, counseling of this type is insane. It's absolutely insane. And in the meantime, people are suffering. So when people say stuff about our medical system, I just kind of laugh. No, it's not that great. But yeah, it can take a while. And while that's happening, the child is still going through everything that the child's going through, and the parents are going through the same thing as well.
Yeah, I have a phrase in the book when they're on the roller coaster, so are you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Whether you want to be on the roller coaster or not.
Well, and like I said, we talked before we started because I had questions because of my grandson's now 12. So he's going through puberty as well as, the ADHD, the anxiety, and the defiance disorder. And his marks are great. He's never failed. And he failed a test because his fine motor skills are toast. Like, you can't read his writing if your life depended on it. And the school is supposed to be working with him and with the, I guess it's I don't know what the psychiatrist that has a plan for Mateo, and they're not sticking to it. And it gets really frustrating for him. Never mind us, because now he doesn't want to go to school. And because he does have this, and he has, had a rage in school a couple of times, the kids in the school have labeled him like he's crazy, he's psychotic, stay away from him. So he's dealing with all of this, and I wish she could homeschool him, but she can't. She's a single mom. She's got 2 kids. She's got to work. But you are you were my go-to today because of everything that happened yesterday. And you told me about dysgraphia, which I had never heard of before. I called my mom into here because I wanted her to listen too, which helps him, you said, put the stuff in his head down on paper so that it's legible and people can understand what he's saying or writing, whichever. And I urge everybody to, go to Kristi's blog and find her and buy this book. Like, buy this book. If you are going through, as she calls it, free falling, and we've been there, we've totally been there. And the hardest thing to admit is that there's something wrong with your child. A lot of parents have a hard time admitting that.
Yep.
And for you to be able to be, like, you're so open about it, and I absolutely love that. And now you've got a book to help, guide people, which I think is tremendous. I can't even put into words, Kristi, how much it means to me that, number one, you've come on my show to talk about this twice now, and now you've got a book. And I love that it says, like, she'll show you how to create calm in your home, how to have an in-depth understanding of your child, and become an empowered parent. That says it all.
And with that statement, it's funny because in the book, I'm very raw in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hide my emotions or my struggles. And I think it's important because a lot of people, when they start trying to get help from others, that sometimes the help that they think they have to go look for is from only a psychologist,
mm-hmm.
or a neurologist, or a speech pathologist, or people that have all of these wonderful characters after their name. And they're wonderful at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important to go find that rawness of another parent who's been in your shoes.
Yes.
Because they get it. And you're alone on your little island right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted the book to be true to every single time that I had a thing happen in our life through hospitalization, that those emotions were as honest as they could possibly be. And it's funny how social media can be such an amazing tool for things like this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize it before I began writing the book, that as I was writing posts this was personal, this was before MakingSenseOfMunchkin.com came along, and my support groups that I have in those, I'd write to my friends of the situation. I needed their love, I needed their support. And I went back through the years and I gathered those up, and they're in this book. And it doesn't get any more real than that moment.
Exactly. And I love, like, the name of the book, just for everybody to know, is Making Sense of Munchkin. Mm-hmm. And it's available. Where can you get the book?
Right now it's available in both a print version and a Kindle version, and you can get it on Amazon.
Okay. Those, I'm going to have both those links on my website, so people can just click on them to go right to the book.
Yes.
Also, MakingSenseOfMunchkin.com is going to be up there, and people
yes.
can click on that and find out more about you and how you've made sense of all of this. And I commend you, Kristi, as a parent, as there are a lot of parents that ignore it and just, deal with it however they can, or just, if they ignore it, it's going to go away. And it's not. We all know that. It's a disease. It doesn't go away. And for you to embrace it for your child, the love for your child, astounds me, because that's why you've done everything that you've done.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. No, you're welcome. You don't have to say.
But I will tell you that, in the beginning part of the book, I talk about how hard the transformation was for me. Mm-hmm. Because as a parent, I had to get to that point. I literally had to be at such a rock bottom place of denial of what was happening before I could really open my eyes and be effective and help my child.
Yeah.
I had to make the first moves. I had to look at the person in the mirror and say, if we're going to change this situation and make it better, it's got to be with me. I have to be the catalyst here.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was hard. Getting past that first point of denial is the big game changer. Mm-hmm. And when I could learn to accept that my daughter is not broken, it's not something I have to fix, it's something I have to love in the way that it needs to be loved.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
God made her this way. Mm-hmm. God made me with my quirks.
Yeah, all of us.
And I've managed to make it through. So far, so good. Mm-hmm. It just needed a different approach. And I had to stop thinking that I could help her without understanding her.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, definitely. You blow me away every time. This is the second time I've had you. You blow me away. You absolutely blow me away.
Well, and I don't want parents to think that because I stand here now and I'm in a place of empowerment that I don't understand, because I totally understand. I went through depression myself. I know how hard the special parenting thing can be. Mm-hmm. And there are still days that I collapse. Yeah. Yeah.
My daughter does too.
It's not easy when they have what we sometimes like to call a hiccup. Mm-hmm. And a hiccups can occur for a variety of reasons, but they're not fun. Mm-hmm. Tantrums are not fun. Outrages of pain are not fun. Behavior outbursts of anger are not fun. And that little tiny moment that may only last 10 minutes can seem like an eternity.
Oh, yeah.
But it has a lasting impression on all of us, and it wears us out. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. We get to be human in the process, too. We're perfectly imperfect humans, trying to survive and thrive.
Wow. That is a great line.
Well, I love being an imperfectly perfect human.
Yeah, so do I.
If God wanted us all to be exactly the same, he would have made robots.
Yeah, and we'd be so bored. Like, it would just be insane. It would be awful. I'm glad that we all are unique. I just like the way you said that. It was awesome. Um, and you're right about when it happens, it does seem like, even though it might be 10 minutes, it's forever. And the hardest part, he's not my son, he's my grandson. I mean, Samantha is your daughter, and there's a different connection, obviously. But to see him, number one, they are so apologetic after outbursts, and they feel so bad because they can't control themselves. It just happens. And he beats himself up so much after an outburst that it's awful. But when his anxiety is kicking in, to look into his eyes and see the fear and the ability, or I guess the no ability to control what he's going through, is heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And the parents that are listening right now, grandparents, whichever, they're totally understanding what you're talking about right now, and me as well, because they're going through the same thing. And it's heartbreaking. And to have somebody like you come along and open up the doors, and I mean, you are very raw, and that's one of the biggest things I love about you, because you need to be when you're discussing stuff like this. You can't sugarcoat it. There's no sugarcoating. Nope.
I wish we could make a glazed donut and pass it around and say, like, see, happy, everyone's happy. We're good, right?
No kidding. Magical fairy dust. No, it doesn't. So thank you once again for coming on. I don't talk usually a lot during interviews. I always, always, this is the second time, but whenever I talk to you, you get me to talk about stuff that, I've got internally going on because of my grandson. And I love you for that. And I love the fact that you have that effect on other people, not just me, to get them to talk and to get them to open up their minds and to discover the possibilities of other tools that are out there for them to access. And I mean, that's what your book is. It
is. It's hopefully a toolbox of techniques.
Definitely. And I can't wait. When is it coming out?
It's available now.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Yep, it was released last Friday.
Last Friday. I'm totally getting a copy.
So I'm really excited to see the response, to it. And I've had some, professionals actually who have been on our journey, read through it because I was curious from their perspective. And it really opens my heart to know that if we keep talking and if we keep empathizing and we keep trying to understand, that we can heal a lot of that pain for our children and for the people that surround us that are struggling. That people are willing to take what I said or a story that I shared or an experience that I talk about, and it makes them want to go and learn something else. It makes them want to go and try something else. It makes them want to change their perspective to be more forgiving or more understanding. Yeah. I think that is why I was called to write this book.
Well, I'm sure glad God tapped you on the shoulder. You have no idea. I want to thank you, Kristi. I can't thank you enough. Like, I absolutely adore you. Not just because of all of this. You are funny. You're unique. You're Kristi. The conversation we had on Facebook was hilarious. And we share a brain somewhat, because when it came to the number thing, I'm looking for it as you're messaging me about it. That cracked me up. But that's the fun thing about Kristi. Not only is this, it's a serious issue, very serious, but she brings humor to it as well, which makes it easier. And that's why I have such an easy time talking to her. And like I say, I encourage everybody. How do they find your blog?
All you've got to do is go to www.makingsenseofmunchkin.com,
Okay.
Or they can find the book on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Just Making Sense of Munchkin. If you type that into the search bar, it will come up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have one last thing is I do have a private Facebook group,
Okay.
and you can find it off of the Making Sense of Munchkin Facebook page.
Okay.
And it is a parenting support group.
Awesome.
Where we can get raw and we can vent and we can cheer each other on and we can make silly faces and we can take pictures of all of us looking at like a hot mess on Monday morning. And all of us just trying to find ideas and tips and tools and get connected with other people who can help us, get through today and find another tip and another tip and another tip.
That is awesome. So the links to your book are going to be up on my website, as well as makingsenseofmunchkin.com. So everybody can go there. I urge everybody that is going through this to buy the book. It's going to help you get through everything that you need to get through. I urge you to make contact with Kristi, either, like you said, the Facebook group or on your website. Just because you are a wealth of information, because you've studied, you've done everything that you can for your daughter. And the fact that you're helping other parents and family members and whoever go through this is just amazing. And like I said, I'm glad God tapped you on the shoulder, because you're going to be helping, I can't even, lots and lots and lots of people. I can't even put a number on it, because even talking to you after the first interview, you gave us some tools that we, started putting into effect. And now you've got a book that's going to, be something that points us in the right direction for a lot of different issues. You've already given me a pointer about my grandson and his writing, which I had never heard of dysgraphia until I talked to you. So trust me when I say Kristi knows what she's talking about. She's also you're very humble, Kristi, for going through everything you're going through and being a great blogger and writing this book. You are so down to earth. You are so fun. And you take a serious issue that you've put in a lot of homework, like both you and your husband and Samantha have gone through all of this together. And to put it in a book and to have these groups available is just beyond amazing. And I commend you for that. And yeah, hats off and congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anything new happens, let me know. If anything new happens in my life, I'm sure I'll be messaging you.
Absolutely. We all have to stick together.
Exactly. Like I say, I urge everybody, get in contact with her and buy this book. It's going to be life-changing. Just the tips Kristi's given me and my family has been life-changing. So I'm not just speaking as, an interviewer that's letting Kristi come on and talk about her book and everything. I'm speaking as a grandparent who has a grandson that maybe doesn't have exactly what Samantha has, but has a lot of the same types of issues. And you just help. That's all. I don't even know how to put it into words. You were amazing, Kristi. So say hello to Samantha and your husband, and let me know how the outcome of this interview, talking about your book and everything, goes, because I'm always curious to know how it, if it went well, if it did something for you. This is kind of close to my heart, this issue. So I really want to know how it goes and how many books you sell and so on and so forth. So keep me updated, which I know you will anyway.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, I will have the links to your book and to Making Sense of Munchkin. And Kristi, thank you. I can't even, my gratitude towards you is unending. Like, just thank you so much for being you and for doing all of this.
And thank you for having me back again. I appreciate it.
Anytime. And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic. Keep checking my website, because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.